tam bhaktanam ekadantam upasmahe. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaskaram to everyone. I welcome you all to this cohort to learn Vedanta. My name is Sri Krishnan and I am one among us, okay, who have gathered here to gain the key to the wealth called Vedanta. Our Vedanta Shastra is not just rich in intellectual content, but it is also a valuable guide to lead our daily lives. For many of us, at least for me, it was something to be learned at some later stage in life. That is how I used to think. But it was a very late realization that it is better done early and applied on a daily basis. So that is the reason why we have gathered here. And to lead us in this journey, we have someone who has had a very luminous education and career in the past, and then took a very great plunge into something even more enlightening, Advaita Vedanta. And our Guruji is Satyan Ji. He's called Lakshminarayan Chidambaran. We'll call him Satyan Ji. He's a full-time student of Vedanta and Sanskrit. He's based out of Chennai and he's been studying Vedanta under his Guru Swami Paramarthananda Ji since 2003. So that's about 20 years, 21 years now. A graduate of IIT Madras in computer science and postgraduate from University of Michigan, Satyanji served at a global software firm for about 26 years in various technical leadership roles before taking this plunge to focus on Vedanta and Sanskrit studies full time. So he's been doing this full time. He was introduced to Vedanta about 28 years ago in 1996 at the Chinmaya mission in the US. Subsequently, Satyanji came across the teachings of his Paramaguru, Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati Ji, who opened his eyes on how Vedanta is a pramana for Atma Jnanam. He then studied for almost a decade under Shri Vijay Kapoor Ji, a senior disciple of Pujya Swami Dayananda Ji. And at the Arsha Vidya Center in California, Satyanji also helped organize public talks and retreats by Swami Viditatmananda Ji and Swami Tattvavidananda Ji. Over two decades, Satyanji has also started listening to Swami Paramarthananda Ji's classes on various Vedantic texts, which when he was in the US. Then, over a decade ago, he moved to Chennai, quit from corporate career, and to continue his Vedantic studies directly under his Guru, Swami Paramarthananda Ji. And for the past 3 years, he's been studying Paniniya Vyakaranam based on Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi under Dr. Soumya Krishnapur from the familiar Vyoma Samskrita Padashala, familiar to some of us. Now, with that background, we are in very good hands and we can move on to the class. But a little bit of hygiene, as we all know, we'll keep our audio and video muted. And if we have questions, there is a QA box where we can raise our questions. And if there is an urgent question where without that clarifying that question, we will not be able to move further, raise our hands and he will take that question online, and that is how we will move on. Now with that, let me invite Satyanji to lead us into our class. Over to you, Satyanji.
Thanks, Krishna, for your introductory comments. And we will start off with the Mangalacharanam and Guru Vandanam. I had sent the PDF via WhatsApp. So in case you want to follow the Mangalacharanam and Guru Vandanam along with me, you can do that by looking at that PDF. Om Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मा पादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तन्तोटकं वातिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। परब्रह्मनिष्ठं स्वतो धर्मनिष्ठम् अहिंसैकनिष्ठं स्वशिष्यै सुजुष्टं यतीनां वरिष्ठं गुरूणां गरिष्ठं दयानन्दरूपं मदाचार्यमीडे। नमः श्रीपरमार्थाय संसाराध्यासनाशिने श्रोत्रियब्रह्मनिष्ठाय तस्मै ब्रह्मविदे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ with the Mangalacharanam, Guru Vandanam, we invoke Ishvara's and Guru's blessings for freedom from obstacles in our study. A few weeks ago, I had gone to get Swamiji's blessings with regards to this class. And Swamiji has conveyed his blessings to all of us. My Guru's name is Swami Paramarthananda ji. Swami Paramarthananda ji. And I hope you can see the picture I have right there. So that is Swamiji's picture. This side is Swamiji, and on this side is Adi Guru, Sri Dakshinamurti. Swamiji conveyed his blessings and mentioned that, as he always mentions in various contexts, that this study is beneficial not just for those who are listening, but for the one who is teaching as well. And the second part is especially important for me because I get to dwell on something that I have been learning for a long time, but it still requires an immersive dwelling on it, known as nididhyasanam. So this class becomes a kind of an excuse for me to dwell on the study deeply. Because in order to present a topic I need to think about, firstly, I have to recall the teachings of the Guru Parampara. And secondly, present it in a hopefully coherent manner. And that itself is a sadhana. And I firmly believe that from this effort, I'll be one of the biggest beneficiaries. So like I mentioned, it's a loud recollection of the teaching that I have received from my Guru. And for others here, for some of us who are listening to this for the first time, that becomes a form of Shravanam, listening to the teaching. And for yet others who have listened to it before, this becomes a form of Mananam or Nididhyasanam. Mananam meaning removal of doubts or getting additional clarifications. And Nididhyasanam, as I mentioned, is again a form of intense dwelling upon the teaching. I congratulate everybody who has taken this initiative to be a part of this, to dwell on Vedanta. And it's not easy to make such a commitment because there are a lot of pressing activities the mind has to engage in. There's a lot of pressure in the mind to do this, do that, etc. The fact that the commitment has pierced through all this and manifested itself in the form of a decision to attend, that doesn't come easily. The Shastras say, Ishvaranugrahadeva pumsam Advaita vasana. So if there is this vasana, which is a tendency of the mind to study Vedanta, is there, then that's a very Shubha vasana, should be encouraged. And it is possible only because of Ishvara's grace, Ishvara's anugraha. The second thing I want to say is that there are some people, some of the people who are, some of the folks who have signed up are still in their younger years. There are a few people who are in their late teens, early 20s, and in their 30s, and so on. And I really wish that this message reaches more younger people. The reason is that none of this is taught in schools. Earlier, the Gurukula system used to provide a roadmap, which included, which was basically based on our Shastras, the Vedas and the Vedanta. It provided a roadmap for life. And moksha, ultimate fulfillment, unconditional fulfillment, was presented as the ultimate goal of life. In the modern educational system, that is missing. Invariably, those who come to Vedanta and those who see the value of the teaching, they always feel, why did I not come across this earlier? It's always better late than never. But the earlier the better it is. Because the earlier one appreciates this vision, then one can get the clarity on the real goal of life and the path to it. Otherwise, one is just chasing mirages longer. It just means suffering for longer. In the presence of the Western cultural invasion, there's a need to instill a sense of pride in our own heritage. And most Hindus who are a product of the Western educational system, they don't understand Hinduism. In fact, many look at it with skepticism. So like Swami Chinmayananda ji once said, we don't need to convert anybody else. We need to convert Hindus to Hinduism. To understand the core of Sanatana Dharma, to understand where is it that our Shastras want to take us, what is the vision of the Shastras, and what is the pinnacle of this vision, one has to understand Vedanta. Only then one sees the real glory of Sanatana Dharma, as the vision is incomplete. The extraordinary brilliance of the Bharatiya culture, civilization, and thought can only be appreciated. Vedanta is appreciated. Vedanta is the crest jewel of this civilization. But it is not just for Indians, Bharatiyas. Like Pujya Swamiji says, Vedanta is a world heritage. The Indians, Bharatiyas, have just been the gatekeepers of it. Because the teaching is relevant to every human being. Every human being. And one needs to appreciate the painstaking sacrifices that the Guru Parampara and all our ancestors who have been involved in the preservation, elaboration, summarization, clarification, and propagation of this teaching from one generation to the next in its pristine form. They have to literally dedicate their lives to the study in order to get the immensity of the understanding that is there. Shastras are so vast that one cannot just be a casual student of it for it to be preserved and propagated across so many generations. That is why we have to be really grateful to the entire Guru Parampara or handing this teaching down to us. It's a treasure that is incomparable. One cannot really appreciate the full value and the immensity of the implications of this until one studies it and sees what it has to offer. So with that, a few points about this class. The students here have come from a variety of backgrounds. Some of us are starting fresh. Some of us have already got exposure to Vedanta. And some students have very less Sanskrit background and others have more Sanskrit background. So the challenge for me is to try to somehow balance the presentation to keep it at the right level for everybody. It is very important to understand Vedanta using the original Sanskrit terms, because there are no equivalents for the Sanskrit terms in the other languages. Like Swamiji gives an example that if we have to learn cricket, there are a lot of terms that one has to familiarize oneself with. And starting with the bat and the ball and the wicket, stump, pitch, slips, silly point, cover drive, etc. And it almost sometimes results in hilarious consequences if one tries to translate these terms into other languages. For example, if you were to take silly point, Swamiji hilariously explains, it would end up being called Paitya Pulli. And LBW, leg before wicket, would become Kuchi Munal Kal or something like that. So it's very difficult to translate terms and preserve the meaning. And the translated terms can themselves cause a lot of confusion because there would be no standardization. If somebody tries to say the terms in Tamil and another person in Marathi, and there are different terms altogether, then it becomes harder to communicate. Whereas if there is standardization of the terms, which is what the Sanskrit terms provide, then the communication becomes easier. So I will present the terms in Sanskrit only, and wherever it is appropriate, we'll get down to the etymology of the term also, because that helps understand the shades of meaning associated with the term better. The second aspect I wanted to talk about is listening. And those of us who have been listening to Vedanta for a while know how important it is to listen properly. And listening properly involves listening with an open mind. Suspension of judgment. If I hear something that is contrary to what I believe or what I have held so far, instead of saying that Vedanta is wrong here and I know better, it's better to make a mental note of it or a note of it somewhere that Vedanta says this, but I don't understand it. I don't understand it at this point. So that rather than rejecting what Vedanta says, it's better to keep an open mind and give the benefit of doubt to Vedanta. The reason this is important is that the vision of Vedanta, the student is not viewing the reality, is not seeing the reality. And what Vedanta is presenting is coming from the perspective of what the reality is. There's bound to be a clash between these two perspectives here and there. If I am seeing a rope as a snake, and Vedanta is telling me what you're doing is something futile, why are you beating this? Why are you beating this? You don't have to beat it. But I'm seeing a snake, so I say I have to beat it. Vedanta says, no, something else you have to do. Beating is futile. If I really hold on to my view, and if I reject what Vedanta says, then I'll continue to do what I'm doing. And that is why, even if what Vedanta says is something I cannot appreciate right now, it's better to keep an open mind. All the doubts will get clarified over time. Because what Vedanta is talking about is the truth. And truth can always be defended. What is untrue, what is not real, that cannot be defended. One will see through it. So that is one point here. The second point is with regards to taking notes. And I can personally vouch for this because over the last 2 to 3 decades of my listening to Vedanta, for every class I have made detailed notes. At this point, I have several thousand hours of notes. And it is one of the biggest treasures that I possess. Because anytime I come across a text that Swamiji has taught earlier, and anytime I'm looking at a verse or some passage, or whatever it is, there can always be, some question about a particular usage or how this fits in the overall context. And the notes that I have are one of the most valuable resources that I go to for such questions. So I would encourage every student to take notes. And before the next class, revise the notes so that the context of what we have studied so far is fresh in our minds when we come to the next class. Now, with regards to questions, I have given a Q&A form that is a Google form. So rather than using the WhatsApp group, it's better to use that form to submit the questions, because that way it's easier to track the questions. And then I can take them up in the next class, try to incorporate that question, the answer to that question or clarification to it in the next class as needed. So those are the sort of the logistical points I wanted to make. So now let us start with the content for this. Fundamentals of Vedanta class. So in order to motivate the study for Vedanta, we have to understand a few factors. When the few factors become clear, then it becomes crystal clear that Vedanta is the answer that we have all been looking for in life. So the first question to start off with is, what is it that we really seek? What are we really seeking in life? If we ask everybody in the world, we may get 1 million different answers. The population of the world is like 5 billion or 6 billion or something like that. We may get 5 billion different answers if you get into the real specifics of the answer. They won't textually match. But if you look at, even though there are differences in answers, for example, somebody may say, I have to get a job. That's what I'm seeking. Somebody else may say, I have to get admitted into college. Somebody else may say, I want to have children. Somebody else may say, I want to earn wealth. The answers will be very varied. But then if we would ask them another question, why is it that you want to have children? Why is it that you want to have more wealth? Why is it that you want to get admitted into college? They may give yet another answer. So let's call the first level answer as X, the second level answer as Y. But if we keep asking, why is it that you want to do that? Eventually, everybody or the other will end up, everybody will universally say that because I want to be happy and fulfilled. So invariably, every one of us is seeking happiness and fulfillment. Just the specifics of how we are seeking it differs from individual to individual. So the means like the X or the Y we talked about, they are the intermediary means. But the destination that one wants to get through those means is happiness or fulfillment. Now let's ask ourselves another question. Between the ends and the means, which one is dearer to me? I'll give an example here, which is a Laukika example. An example from our day-to-day life. Suppose I want to go to Mylapore. Then I take an auto to get there. Now, after I reach Mylapore, do I still hold on to the auto? The auto is dispensed with the moment I reach Mylapore because I have reached my destination. So I don't need that auto anymore. I don't get attached to the auto. And these days, this happens with all of us, that we try to call an auto on Ola or Uber or whatever it is. The auto guy cancels. Now, if I have to really get to Mylapore, maybe there's an important appointment I have, I'll get to it through some other means. Maybe take a bus or get a ride from somebody or whatever it is. So if the intermediary is not available due to some reason, I don't mind shedding that intermediary for another intermediary, but my destination I know. So basically, in these matters, I'm very clear that the destination is much more important than the intermediary. But when it comes to life, somehow clarity is not very visible. I somehow get attached to the intermediaries. But my final destination is the happiness or fulfillment. That everybody is very clear. My final destination is that. Now, the next question we ask is, when do you want to be happy and fulfilled? Do you want to be happy and fulfilled on weekends or weekdays? Everybody will say, what kind of a absurd question is this? Because the answer is pretty obvious. I want to be happy, fulfilled at all times. If you're telling me that I am fulfilled only on weekends and on weekdays, I am not fulfilled because I have to deal with my micromanaging boss. And everybody will try to get rid of that situation by maybe changing the job or whatever, because I want fulfillment even on weekdays. So nobody will settle for fulfillment on weekends and no fulfillment on weekdays. Everybody wants to be fulfilled at all times. Let's ask another question. Do you want to be fulfilled at home or outside? Again, we will say, what kind of a silly question is this? I want to be fulfilled at all places. Wherever I am, I want to be fulfilled. Whatever time it is, whenever it is, I want to be fulfilled. So what this shows us is that I want to be fulfilled independent of the time and place. At all times, in all places. So what I am really seeking is unconditional fulfillment. Unconditional fulfillment. Fulfillment that is not constrained by any factors. Limitless fulfillment, which is not limited by anything. That is what I'm really seeking. And this is relevant for any human being from any nationality. Nationality, geography doesn't matter. It is what every human being is seeking. And now we will give a term to this. Unconditional fulfillment. We will call it Purnatvam. We are familiar, I think, for people with most Indian language backgrounds. Everybody will probably understand what Purna is. Purna means full. When a sannyasi is welcomed at home, welcome the sannyasi with a Purna Kumbha. A pot filled with water, filled fully. It's Purna. So this Purnatvam means fullness, completeness, unconditional fulfillment is what I'm seeking. Now let's look at what I am in my vision. I find that I'm a limited, mortal, individual body mind. I'm an insignificant speck in this world, this universe. I'm a tiny speck. And so I see myself as incomplete. Apurnaha. Apurnaha. There are three dimensions of my personality. The doer in me, called Karta. The experiencer or enjoyer, called Bhokta. And the knower, called Pramata. So there are these three aspects of me. And whichever way I look at myself, I am Apurnaha. As a Karta, the doer, I am Apurnaha. Why? Because I have to do so many things in the short term, in the long term. From childhood onwards, I've been doing. Got admitted to school, I have to pass this exam, and I have to, there's always a to-do list that we have, even if we don't have the habit of writing it down. Every day we wake up with a to-do list. And until that those things are done, I cannot say that as a Karta, I have done whatever it is that I have to do. I have so many things to do as a Karta. So I'm Apurnaha as a Karta. Next, let us look at the Bhokta, the enjoyer or the experiencer. We have a list of things that I have to experience, I have to enjoy. I have to go to Jaipur, for example. I haven't seen Jaipur. People tell me that it's a beautiful place. I've not been there. So people plant all these ideas in our minds also. Oh, you have not been to Andaman and Nicobar? It's a beautiful place. You have to go and visit it. Or more recently, now there was all this thing about Lakshadweep. So now Lakshadweep has become an item to be experienced in many people's list of things to list of places to visit. So as an enjoyer, I feel, as an experiencer, I feel there are many things out there that I have not experienced, I have not enjoyed. And until I do that, I'm incomplete. And then there is the knower, the pramata. And as a pramata, the knower, there are always things to know in this vast universe. Upskilling, right, in the corporate language. You have to keep updating your skills. Something or the other just keeps changing. And now there is this artificial intelligence thing that has come up big time. And everybody is afraid that I'll become obsolete if I don't learn this. So as a knower, there are always more and more things I have to know. And it's not just in the transactional world, but when it comes to spirituality or Vedanta also, Vedas, the Vedanta, our Shastras are so vast that even 100 lifetimes are not enough to learn all of it. Perhaps even 1,000 lifetimes are not enough. And even a student of Vedanta, somebody may say, hey, you've not read this text yet. Oh, you don't know anything yet if you have not read it. So forget about transactional situations. Even a student of Vedanta may feel incomplete. Unless I have read that, I am incomplete. So as karta, as a bhokta, as a pramata, I am apurnaha. And then let us take the body. I am this body. I am this mind. I have this family. I have possessions. I have a profession. So at all of these levels, there can be issues, there can be problems. At the body level, there may be problems. As one gets older, especially, bodily problems start to surface. Or somebody may feel that I don't look as good as somebody else. Or my physique is not as good as somebody else. So there can be apurnatvam at the body level. Due to body, what I perceive as being bodily issues. And then at the mind level, there is kama, krodha, moha, mada, matsarya, all of these issues. The mind has certain good vasanas, and some of the vasanas may not be as good. And some people don't even recognize the difference. That's a different matter. But for somebody who recognizes the difference, one may feel one is incomplete at the mind level also. At the family level, Veetuk Veedu Vasapadi, they say in Tamil. There are issues in every family. You have to deal with teenagers. There may be some relationship issues. There may be issues with somebody else being sick. At the level of possessions, lack of possessions is an issue. Or having possessions also is an issue. When it comes to inheritance issues within the family. And at the profession level, there's always that next deadline. And I feel that I'm running behind. A lot of catching up to do. I feel incomplete until I complete that. So there are hundreds of reasons for me to be apurna. And then there is yet another factor. We've discussed all of this. There are more. Like we said, I'm a speck in this vast universe. I'm at the mercy of forces that are way beyond my control. So there are these three levels. Adhyatmika, forces that are operating within me. Adi Bhautika, forces that are around me that that act on me through various beings around me. And Adi Daivika, there are factors like natural calamities, earthquakes. So again, I feel powerless in front of this. Again, apurnatvam. And then there's always this old age, disease, and death that are staring at everybody. Apurnatvam. So there are 1,000 reasons for me to feel limited, helpless. But what do I want? I want unconditional fulfillment. I want purnatvam. How am I going to bridge this gulf? This gap is almost unsurmountable. Not almost. It is unsurmountable. So I try various things in this life, this, that, and get some amount of fulfillment. But not the purnatvam that I am really seeking. So why is this relevant to Vedanta? Why study Vedanta? Because a benefit. So we always ask, why study Vedanta? What is in it for me? What is the benefit for me? In everything I do, I look at the benefit for me. Prayojanam anuddishya mandopi na pravartate. Without a benefit, even a dull-headed person doesn't do something. Even a dull-headed person looks for some benefit in order to do something. So clearly we have to ask this question, what is the benefit for me? I mean, even if I do some charity where it may seem like I'm benefiting somebody else, I give some dhanam. But really speaking, there also I'm looking for a benefit for me. Because I believe that by helping the other person, I will get something. The immediate thing that I may see by helping somebody else is there is some happiness that I get. I feel good about myself because I was able to help somebody. So that is one benefit. And then there is also this benefit that helping somebody else gives us some punya. You'll see in more detail what punya is and all of that. At the time being, I'm assuming that all of us know what that is. So even there, when somebody else looks like the beneficiary is really me, and that is why I'm doing it. Why study Vedanta? What is in it for me? Because that purnatvam that I seek, that is the benefit, that is the prayojanam of Vedanta study. With all these hundreds, thousands of things that make me feel apurna, I really want that purnatvam. And nothing in the world can give me that. Vedanta declares, if you want that purnatvam, you have to come to me. Brahmavid apnoti param. Vedanta says, and the one who knows what I am trying to teach you, apnoti param, he reaches an ultimate destination, which is this purnatvam. Atyantika dukkha nivrittihi paramananda praptischa. This is the prayojana of Vedanta. Atyantika dukkha nivrittihi, a total cessation of all sorrow. Paramananda praptischa is prayojanam. Purnatvam. Triptihi nirankusha. Again, triptihi nirankusha. Limitless fulfillment. So how does Vedanta give this purnatvam? Does it fix all those thousands of reasons I have to feel apurnaha? Suddenly is my boss going to, because I became a student of Vedanta, is my boss going to behave differently? All those family problems or all those bodily problems, are they going to disappear? No. The external situation remains the same. And how does Vedanta give this Purnatva? If I have to stare the same boss, I have to live in the same family, how can Vedanta give me this Purnatva? My expectation is I want to be fulfilled. I want to be fulfilled. I'm focusing on the right hand side. I want to be fulfilled, and I'm always focusing on that and saying I'll be fulfilled only if all these things get fixed up. What I'm missing in this picture is this I. I haven't looked at the left-hand side of that sentence. Vedanta changes the vision of who I am. Shows me that I have not looked at myself, and if I really inquire into myself, I'll find that I am fulfilled. I am already what I'm seeking. So it introduces me to this problem-free myself that I was missing all along. And that is the key piece of the jigsaw puzzle that is required for this whole thing to fall into place. That is what I've been missing. It awakens you from a dreamlike reality that I'm immersed in. And just when I'm dreaming, when I wake up, I get introduced. Let's say in the dream, I'm being chased by some dogs. And then I'm having all these issues in the dream. I wake up and I get introduced to the problem-free waker. From the waker's perspective, there is no problem. So I get introduced to the problem-free waker when I wake up. Similarly, when Vedanta wakes me up to this problem-free myself that I was ignorant of. Vedanta is like that dream lion. The dream lion comes in my dream and gives a roar and wakes me up. So similarly, Vedanta's teaching is like that lion's roar that wakes me up. I find that the Purnatvam that I'm seeking, I already am. So we are at the end of the hour now, since we started. I'd like to stop here. We'll continue from where we left off in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. I think that today we will not have the time for any questions. But like I mentioned, we can dwell on these points that we discussed and submit any questions via the Google form. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om.